Hello.
Greetings. Hello. Greetings, Cipher folk, Vizli, and all other life forms out there. Welcome to the CypherCast. I'm Jim Ryan, and with me tonight is the inimitable Andrew Cady.
Hello, everybody. How y'all doing?
Unfortunately, Danny could not be with us today as she is busy making her way through a perilous rock concert. But our guest this evening is on the editorial staff of CypherCast Magazine and the co-host of the Incantations podcast, Scott Robinson. Hello, sir.
Hello.
It's been like forever since we have had you on the show. I think we had you on like our second episode. So how's it been? What you been up to?
Well, we've released something like I just edited episode 61 of the Incantations podcast.
That's so many.
It is a lot of episodes. Now we do have we've moved to a weekly format with shorter episodes, but it is still a lot of episodes.
That's a lot. That's so many. When did you start Incantations again? I know it was before we started.
It was about 2 weeks. Well, no, I guess it was just before the end of the original Invisible Son Kickstarter.
Oh man,
Yes.
that is awesome. That is very cool. So that is great to finally be able to get you back now that we have an excuse, since now we have Invisible Sun all over the place. But also
He's out in the wild.
I know. Andrew, how's your month been? Have you been doing any more gaming, anything of that nature?
I have been busy with work and a bunch of other stuff. I did get in a wonderful little Halloween-themed Tales from the Loop game the other night, so that was a lot of fun. So the little horror kids, exploring an abandoned hospital with a werewolf outside and a bunch of other things. So it was good.
I've got to say, I don't think I'm brave enough to try playing Tales from the Loop, but it is awesome to watch. I remember sitting in for a few minutes on a game that you were running at Gen Con, an after-hours game, and it was hysterical. It was absolutely awesome. Maybe I will try it one of these days. It's just I have this thing. I'm scared to play children. I don't know why. I have to figure out where that mental block is coming from, and we'll kind of work through it one day.
You just got to play off type.
Yeah, I know, right. I need to play something other than tormented doctors. That's basically my type at this point. Is secretive people and tormented people and people with letters behind their name. For some reason, I've been playing a lot of those. So with our new format, we don't really do a formal roundup as such anymore, but a few things have been going on recently in MCG land that I think are worth talking about. Notably, I mean, the Invisible Sun reprint Kickstarter is out. I think you predicted this, Andrew, in the last episode, that this was going to happen, and it did.
Did I? Ooh, I did not. No idea, honestly.
I just edited it.
I don't know any inner workings or anything like that, but I have to say I'm really happy about that because I missed out on the first one. I was one of the few because I had one of my players decided he was going to kickstart it, but then he did kickstart it and he hasn't. He was going to run it for us, but he had to not do that, instead to run for office. So if he wins, I won't be able to play anyway. So I need to get my own copy so I can run it for people.
Yes. For some under similar mysterious circumstances, one of the co-hosts of this show had disappeared, probably at about the same time, I think.
Oh yeah.
Strange coincidence.
How does this happen? I don't know.
So I think I'm going to get in on this run and all the cool stuff they've got planned. It looks great.
Well, we'll talk about this more in a little bit, but what I will just say is that I did get it. I got the directed campaign. And then all my players disappeared.
Well, no.
Actually, it was more, there's life stuff and they've got schedule things going on. So that's, there's a lot that's been going on for them. So
wait, did they find, wait. Did they leave the actuality? Did they go to the actuality? Is that what happened?
I think they went to the actuality without me. I think that's the problem.
Just disappeared?
Yeah, they departed shadow. So I'm probably going to end up recruiting, but so something I'm thinking about doing is getting getting more Vizli kits for when it starts up. When I do eventually start it up, and we'll see how that happens. But I think we'll talk more about this the wonders of Invisible Sun in this Kickstarter, and just all about it, because we need to revisit it in just a little bit. That's going to be our main discussion.
Gotcha.
And as the person we have as a guest might have hinted at, is the fact that we have someone who knows much more about Invisible Sun than either of us. So I think it's going to be really cool. But in the meantime, what else has been going on lately?
MCG did come out with Building Tomorrow. It is now out into the wild, and it is the first of the additional the Numenera Discovery and Destiny sort of additional books that they came out with. And this is the one that sort of gives you a bunch more creatures, bunch of new items to discover and craft, challenges to help threaten your community with, and other wonderful stuff. I haven't been able to get my hands on it yet, but I'm waiting. I'm hoping to get it soon. So
cool. I got because I did the Kickstarter, I got a PDF copy. I just got it not too long ago. I looked through it. It looks like there's a lot in there that I am eager to devour when I have time. But I did not get to really look at it thoroughly as of yet. But it seems there's some awesome stuff in there. Part of me, somewhere in the back of my mind, I want to say that there's something there about cipher creation, maybe. But I need to go back and look again, because it's that's like one of the major wondrous things that was needed, or at least in my opinion was needed. But something I was looking forward to. There's also a Numenera Player's Guide is out, so now you have something you can just give to players if you're just playing, players can buy and they can pick it up and look at it. That's very cool. I'm glad they have that.
Another thing going on right now is the Strange sale, and this is an interesting bit of news that they sort of came out with the Strange. They released 2 new products with it, which is the Translation Deck and the Strange Deck. And the Translation Deck sounds really cool. It helps you generate some GM's intrusions related to translating, which to me is one of the funnest times in the Strange to do some GM intrusions. I always liked, all right, well, you didn't go where you wanted to go. And so... But they've got some cool things like, you've got some strange side effects, like you've got something growing on you or something like that merged with you while translations. I'm thinking like The Fly, and stuff like that. And they also have the Strange Deck, which is allows you to sort of add some twists and unexpected encounters to your adventures and stuff like that. Which is cool. And with that, they also have a bunch of things on sale. The Strange box set, which they still have a few copies left. So if you're really interested in the Strange, go quickly grab those up. I saw that at Gen Con and it looked gorgeous. So
it is gorgeous.
Yeah.
And the community demanded it. So it is our moral obligation to at least let them sell out of those box sets.
Yeah. But another interesting tidbit in the Strange sale is that they're kind of merging the Strange into the Cipher system as a whole. They've got nothing else planned to come out with under the Strange name. They're putting the Strange under the Cipher system name instead, sort of like Predation and Gods of the Fall. It's going to be another setting out, and Masks, of course. It's going to be another setting out there for the Cipher system. Now, being the Strange, you can always, of course, go to all these other settings while you're in there. So I think that's an interesting sort of take. There's a lot of people that sort of expected this to happen pretty quickly. So, this is not actually new news, or not unexpected news. Let's just put it that way.
Very cool. I mean, I think that's very interesting. So they're not planning to put anything else out under the Strange banner, you're saying, but they're gonna maybe. Do you think maybe if they did another edition, it would then resemble Predation and Masks more, that sort of thing, where it's more that they don't have the core rules in there, but it's just
probably
do it under Cipher?
Yeah. I'm sure they if they wanted to go back and update sort of some of the strange rules to be more in line with the new version of Cipher that's going to be coming out with the last Kickstarter that they did, their Your Best Game Ever. So they might update the rules after that. I'm not quite sure, but it might be like a predation book or a mask book or that size book.
Yeah, I think the intent is for them, by them, is to explain to their, to our community that basically, the Stars Are Fire and Survive and everything funded off of that last Kickstarter can be thought of as strange supplements just as much as they can be thought of as Cipher system supplements.
Oh yeah.
That you probably won't expect to see a lot more material about the estate or Carter Morrison or the specifics of the strange setting, but because the nature of the setting, all of that second wave of Cipher system games just expands the horizons for strange anyway. And the question then becomes: is there more value in a new strange book, or in something broader that both strange and non-strange Cipher system players could use? I think they're strongly pivoting towards the latter and just saying, let's just put out a game like We're All Mad Here, or a setting, and let you use that in strange if you want, or you could use it as its own Cipher system setting. And there wouldn't be a lot of value of making a strange supplement itself. And this is coming from someone who deeply loves the strange and was kind of drawn to a lot of this because of the strange. So it's no disrespect there.
Yeah, I think I remember just that thing when we had James Walls on. That thing that he said kind of just still resonates with me. The idea that you can just do everything, no matter what it is, in the strange. So I've always found that cool. As far as the sale goes, I have taken advantage of it a little bit. I went ahead and I picked up the strange deck. I just ordered it actually shortly before we came on here. I ordered the strange deck and the strange Cipher deck. Because I'm going to be running a Cipher game at a con in a couple of weeks, a week and a half. Cool. And so I figured, it'd be good to have something from a setting like that with a bunch of ciphers, because I think they'd tried to make them sort of as neutral as possible. Setting-wise, since you can go into a bunch of different settings effectively with the strange. So
it's a very the strange Cipher deck is a very good deck because it has a lot of cards that say, hey, this is what it looks like in different settings. Here's what it would look like in fantasy. This is what it looks like in what have you. So it has it so you can sort of tailor it to whatever setting that they're in now, whatever incursion that they're in, and what it might look like when it translates into another recursion. So that's a cool little addition that they have for that deck.
Very cool, very cool. Well, I think the only other thing that I wanted to just mention briefly is a thing going on that if you're watching this live is going to be more relevant to you because it's happening in just a few days, and that is MCG is doing Extra Life this year. This coming weekend, and
oh wow,
they're going to be doing a bunch of stuff. They're going to be streaming or hosting different streams of games for this. Looks like it's going to be more than 24 hours actually. Looking at their schedule, part of the reason I mentioned this is because, as it turns out, I'm going to be participating. I run games every Sunday. I run one shots of different games. And it turns out that I just happened to talk to Darcy at the right time, and so she's going to be playing in the game of Durance I'm going to be running this Sunday, and that is also going to be as part of their on their team's Extra Life effort, and so that's going to be fun. And also, provided all is well still, Danny is also going to be playing with us. So if you miss Danny tonight as much as we do, then you can hopefully tune in this same channel on Sunday, and you will get to see her in deep space, where we shall all be, as we play a game of Durance by Jason Morningstar.
Until you reveal that they're actually in the strange.
Yes, until we reveal that they're actually in the strange. That's the fun part. It could happen. It's a GM-less game, so really anything can happen. It's just one of those things. But in any case, I think we are now pretty much. I think pretty much that's everything we wanted to hit on, unless as far as that stuff goes. But something that we do need to talk about. We have at least one CypherCast Network announcement, and that is a contest. I don't think we've actually had a contest before. I know we haven't had one on the podcast, and this is now a contest that's being done as a joint effort across the CypherCast Network with CypherCaster Magazine, and Scott is here to tell us about it.
Yes, due to reasons, I have ended up with some extra Monty Cook Games store credit, and I thought there's no better use for this extra store credit than to support a contest for all of our loyal fans, listeners, or even people who don't like us very much but are at least paying attention. So, in celebration of the release of Building Tomorrow, we wanted to have a contest where people submit proposed communities for the ninth world. You don't have to stat them out. This is just a short write-up of under 250 words to give sort of the theme or tone of a community for the ninth world that you think would be an interesting addition to the setting. It can be inspired by, but again, doesn't have to conform necessarily to the rules of Building Tomorrow or the Numenera 2 books. You should submit these ideas to a custom email address. It is CCN2Community. So that's short for CypherCast Numenera 2 Community, but shortened, the actual email address is CCN2Community@gmail.com. What I will do is I will take the submissions, I will anonymize them, and submit them to our board of reviewers, who will select 3 winners out of these submissions. Each of the winners will receive a $40 credit or gift certificate to the Monty Cook Games store. We look forward to seeing the variety and weirdness that this community can create for communities in the ninth world, and look forward to announcing the results probably on the next session. So I guess we should probably put a time limit on this.
Yes, I was thinking November 30th as a deadline. The next episode of the CypherCast is supposed to be going first Thursday of next month is the 6th of December. So I was thinking the end of November, end of this month would be good. Does that sound good to you? Or do we need more time, do you think?
That puts a little time pressure on the reviewers, but it's fine with me.
We could, as we're doing this live, we could crank it back a bit. You want another week? You want to say like the 23rd? 25th, round it up. 25th?
Yeah, sure. 25th of November.
All right.
I like 25th. Sounds like a good round number.
Get it to us by Thanksgiving weekend, basically.
I will go back and listen to the last episodes of the CypherCast, write up our thing that we can submit it before then. Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, basically, yeah. Just on the so if you're watching or you're listening, you have until November 25th to send that in, and we shall review it, and we will announce the winners on the next episode of the CypherCast.
As well as reading the submissions.
Yes, we will do that as well.
The winning submissions.
Fun. Yes. Well, yeah, we're not going to read all of them. If we get like 500 submissions, we're not going to read all 500. We will only read 3.
But we will have a happy dance if we have 500 submissions.
Yes, there will be happiness. There will be much happiness involved in that. So that I'm looking forward to that. We've never done a contest before, so this is going to be really cool. I'm going to enjoy this. It's going to be really fun, I think. So that is a thing that we are doing. Huzzah! But
I should also add, I think we should have one submission per person, just so that we don't have like one person who is just awesome at this win 3 gift certificates, because that would be disappointing.
That would be. So these need to come from like 3 unique email addresses, so that would be very helpful, and they need to be different people sending these in. And as it's being pointed out in chat, if we do get 500 entries, while there will be a happy dance, we may have to push things back a little bit as far as the announcement goes.
In fine setting contest tradition.
Exactly.
Yeah. And I actually will volunteer. If we get 500 submissions, I will add a 4th winner. Ooh.
Stretch goals already. Excellent.
Stretch goals, yes.
Okay, I'm really excited about this.
Heck, I'd even contribute a 5th winner.
There we go.
We're going crazy. We're going crazy now.
You're gonna have one for 100 submissions. Come on now.
For what? For every 500, we'll add an extra winner. I don't know that many people on the planet listen to this show, but it would be awesome if they did. But much appreciated. So yeah, totally looking forward to this. I cannot wait to see what people come up with.
Agreed.
Now I think, though, we should get on to our discussion because Invisible Sun is getting reprinted. How crazy is that? I think it's awesome.
As quickly as it sold out, you mean before it actually released? Then I don't think that's pretty crazy. Yeah. But it's awesome. That's what it is. It is awesome.
It may have sold out before it even finished printing.
Yeah. That's more of the crazy part, I think, if anything. That's just to see something like that happen so fast. That was really cool. And so we're right now, as we speak, as of this recording, this thing's going to run until the 16th of November, the Kickstarter for the reprint of Invisible Sun. I should probably pull it up so that I have it in front of me, so that I will have more things to talk about.
Not only is it getting reprint, though, it's kind of been everywhere. I've seen a lot of streams of it. I've seen a lot of blog posts of people talking about it, a lot of reviews, a lot of unboxing videos, a lot of just cool things about the Invisible Sun. I mean, heck, forgot who reviewed it. That just had such a glowing, interesting review that was that I just showed it to my player. Said, "Hey, are you interested in this game?"
I think it was the Los Angeles Review of Books or something.
The Los Angeles Times book review. I think.
Yeah, that's. I mean, people have also. It's been pointed out they've been cosplaying their characters as well, and not just the folks on the MCG staff. I don't think we've seen that, but other folks as well.
They tricked me into actually
cosplay at NCon, actually. So
nice. What was that like, actually? So one thing that happened, and I think we've touched on this a little bit with our first post Gen Con episode, but just to hear everybody's perspective, because I did not get to go this year. How were things around Invisible Sun at Gen Con this year? As far as just like
there was they had a nice box opened up at the booth that really enticed a lot of people. We had a lot of questions, a lot of buzz. There was a lot of participation, and it was a lot of mysteries. So it was good. It was good. The event where they the MCG fan event was very Invisible Sun centric in that there's a ton of Invisible Sun cosplay. There's something about this game that has really inspired cosplay and brought in people who were otherwise or are previously kind of unfamiliar with or uninterested in MCG material, but this just hit a nerve. And so there are tons of people dressed up at the event in Invisible Sun attire.
Neat.
Well, I mean, the cool thing about Invisible Sun is there is no set motif. There is no, okay, you've got to be steampunk or you've got to be, it's do what you want. Be very creative, and anything creative and surreal fits really well with anything Invisible Sun. So you can sort of let your imagination and just dress how you want to dress up. And it, no matter how eclectic or how, bizarre, it works. And also, at the MCG event was really cool because you were around other people that would appreciate what you're wearing. Like, okay, that's really cool. You know, you have that community that's sort of like they're very supportive with you on what you're wearing and whatever you're doing. So that's really cool with MCG sort of built this very, very open, inclusive community with Invisible Sun that's sort of like just be what you want to be.
Yeah, and part of the tone of the game subverts a lot of taken for granted categories.
Mm-hmm.
So it reaches audiences that are really looking for a space as well as a game in which they can use cosplay to explore subversions of gender expectations or time period expectations, technology and magic expectations. And it frees you from a lot of those expectations. And I think that is part of what resonates with people, and especially the cosplay side of Invisible Sun, the aesthetic subversion inherent in the setting.
And I think that pretty much, if I interpreted everything correctly, that if folks who backed, all right, I don't think they're doing anything with this Kickstarter that's a new thing that the folks from the original aren't getting. If that's is that right?
Actually, they are.
Or are they?
Sort of.
What you can do, though, is just back at a level that gets you whatever's new.
Yeah. Okay.
You don't have to back to get another black cube. You could back at hey, I've already got a cube, and I want to support and get whatever you come out with new.
So you can get it, like as a get it sort of individually, because if you back, then you can put it as like a what is the word I'm looking for? That thing where you can buy things additionally.
Add-ons.
Add-ons. There we go. That's the chap.
And it's actually a little more generous than that, I think. My reading of it is that most of the new material, at least all the new material announced so far, is digital as a baseline with a print option.
Mm.
And I believe backers of the original Kickstarter are getting the digital assets.
Okay, yeah, does
that fit with your interpretation of? Yeah,
that's I think what I saw. Yeah, I think.
Yeah, but it. So there is still that is new.
Mm-hmm.
But if you want the print version of it, you're going to need to back possibly at just just that add-on level. So you might be backing just for $15 to get. I don't know exactly what the dollar amount is, but the first stretch goal, for instance, is a set of new like advertisements and in-setting handouts. Something like $15 or whatever it might be.
Yeah.
You could back just for the 15 to get just that set of print products if you want the print version of it. But I believe even if you don't back, but you were a backer the first time around, maybe at some threshold level, I don't know, you get the digital assets anyway.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that I think is what I was thinking of. And so that's good. It's funny because I don't think there was really a digital level per se originally, so I got the sort of confused there to begin with a little bit. But there was a few things were digital, but for the most part, it's all solids.
They've already unlocked the first stretch goal, and that was the new prop set, and that's like the invitations, tickets, playbills, and stuff like that. And that to me, I'm like that. I've seen the little prop set that came with Tullis, and I'm like, ooh, I really want this now.
Nice.
Because I think that adds to immersion of any game. So not turning it upside down, immersion. So,
and hopefully not enervation either, because we don't want anything turning inside out. That would be bad.
Or immolation. We don't want it on fire.
No, that would hurt.
But no, I think that sounds to me like, ooh, I really want that, because they've got some creative folks, and I think that's going to be a lot of neat stuff. That, and they have the add-on with keys, and I want that a bunch of keys, a bunch of wicked keys.
Speaking of which, I just got the announcement yesterday: the wicked keys are preparing for shipping.
Ooh!
I just got my email for them.
What cool props to hand to your players. Oh, you find this key. Here you go. You have no idea where it goes to.
Yeah.
But
that's going to be wonderful.
So I just think that's pretty cool.
That's going to be great.
Yeah, there's a variety of ways one can understand the new Kickstarter. Of course, for those who did not participate in the first Kickstarter at all, the entire, all of the books, everything's available to you. I think all of them are on there.
Oh, yeah.
If you bought the Black Cube, but you didn't buy other material, whether it's the add-on books, whether it's the keys, medallions, the other add-ons, I think most of the add-ons, if not all of them, are available again, including the directed campaign. But if you bought absolutely positively everything, then the campaign is still relevant because of this new digital material, as well as the option to add physical versions of this new material. And for all we know, by the time we finish this podcast, though super unlikely, they may have announced more, and there may be new types of add-ons that don't necessarily go to everybody in the first campaign. But it looks like they're trying to make sure that this second campaign is relevant to the people who supported the first campaign without creating new costs for those people.
It's very cool. It's very cool, and it's the medallions. That was the other thing that I had just got that I hadn't thought about. I may have to also back it just for the medallions, if nothing else, because I got one, and I find myself hankering for a full set.
Yeah, and the order medallions have my eye as well. I only have one Sun medallion. I'm not sure if I'm going to go. I'm pretty sure I'm going to get another Visley kit. But I don't know if I'm getting any of the other add-ons that I didn't already have, because I did back at a level where I at least got all the books.
Yes, I would definitely be buying myself a order medallion for my order. So if I was a player, I think those are really cool.
Definitely. And I mean, just the thing is this, you can even just sort of have them as props that folks find somewhere. If aside from the order medallion, the order medallion and the path of ones from the Path of Suns, just so that you can just have things crop up. It's like, oh, I hadn't thought that these people were involved, but now apparently they are. So that's always, I think, a really cool thing to do with that. That'd be excellent. So I think one of the things also that we should talk about is what sort of effect Invisible Sun has had as a whole on Numenera and other things in the Cipher system. It seems as though that things are changing a bit. And I suspect that MCG's experiences with Invisible Sun might have something to do with that. What say you?
Well, I think the most obvious, at least the most recent obvious example is Building Tomorrow. And I am convinced that the neighborhood experience and the focus on community is part of what accelerated the attention to the building and community as a focus for Numenera 2. Now, some of that was already present in Numenera 1, so don't get me wrong that this is an entirely new world. And the discussion of both exploring and creating your world has been in Numenera from its origins. But the emphasis being placed on building your community as being a major part of a campaign is something that seemed to really launch out of the Invisible Sun's central focus and character creation on neighborhood creation.
Yeah, I think that's really when once that kind of took off, it feels like that's when we started. Then after that, seeing more just sort of tools for building those kinds of things getting put in there.
It's interesting that you draw that correlation. I hadn't drawn that correlation at all because I'd been involved in so many other games lately that have been all about sort of the characters sort of coming up with their own community together, like Mutant Year Zero, where you're kind of like, all right, let's go build the arc together kind of situation and, name the places. So I didn't really think that was an Invisible Sun correlation. I just thought it was sort of hey, this is kind of where games are going. And Numenera, when it came out with, it was like, okay, let's go explore the world. But, you see that it sort of becomes this is sort of their combat of the wandering murder hobo idea of role-playing games. It's like, no, let's go put down some roots. Let's have something that your players care about. So it doesn't feel like a random group of D&D adventurers, rather than it has its own sort of unique feel.
And you may be right that there's just sort of a zeitgeist for community building right now, and that influenced both Invisible Sun and Numenera 2, which makes it look like a correlation when in fact they're both just the product of the zeitgeist. there are examples of the connections that they have more directly cited with the new edition of the Cipher system in the Your Best Game Ever Kickstarter. They said they're going to directly import the character arcs mechanics into the Cipher system. They'll, of course, have to be adapted in various ways, but that is a mechanic that they're drawing more or less directly out of Invisible Sun into Cipher system.
I am very excited about that. Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
I know. I think that's really cool too, and I gotta wonder how it works in Invisible Sun, because I haven't had a chance to play with Invisible Sun enough to see how the character arcs. Like I read it on the page. I don't know how it goes in play. I've seen other games sort of try to use an arc mechanic or a motivation mechanic that it hasn't worked for me at the table very well. So I'm really, really curious to see how Invisible Sun sort of translates on the table on that regard, and how it's going to translate to Numenera.
Yeah, it's worked well. Sorry. It's worked well for me in both the Invisible Sun game, and also I've been on the actual play podcast of The Truth Bleeds at Twilight. And it creates an opportunity for a kind of assessment at the end of every session. But you really do have to have the buy-in for the players to accept that sometimes they're just not going to make progress on their particular character arcs. Maybe it's some sessions are just for other players, and it has to kind of go around in a circle. But when you have that buy-in, it works really well to be able to end every session by saying, okay, so who here advanced their character arc, and talk about how the events may have help them move along a developmental path for their character, as well as incentivizing this by explaining what the stages of the character arc are and rewarding discrete stages. So if you're solving a mystery, you first have to figure out what the mystery is, and you have to figure out like clue number 1 and clue number 2, and then finally you and each of those gives you a little bit of reward, with a big reward at the end. And so it just helps you structure these sorts of stories that you're weaving together. Though it does create a sort of, I forgot, I always get centrifugal and centripetal mixed up. There is there's a bit of it creates a force in the party that kind of pulls them apart to pursue their own character arcs. Mm-hmm. So it's useful to have both individual character arcs and group character arcs. But together they create a structure that is actually it's a really good GMing tool, as well as a way to have a conversation at the end of every session where everyone kind of check in with each other to make sure everyone's included and everyone is having the game they want to play. Yeah,
and as a GM, you could sort of try to weave a couple of the arcs together in ways, different character arcs, and go like, all right, yeah, that person that you're looking for is actually that person's lost sister, that kind of thing. You could sort of mesh sort of people together in a way that makes it more entertaining for both, I'm sure.
And of course, the dark secret is you can steal a version of this tech right now. You don't have to wait for the new Cipher system game or any of these other. These are ideas you can borrow, at least in a simple form, already, because you can pull neighborhood creation into your Numenera game right now. Not necessarily with building tomorrow, but just during character creation, say, okay, build your neighborhood around you. Just everyone take a turn identifying something weird in this person's neighborhood, and you could use that same mechanic without having to have any special books to do it for Numenera. Character arcs would be a little trickier because you'd want to make sure that the rewards were proportionate. But you might even, if you had the buy-in from the table, you might not even have to have the rewards. You could just say, hey, we want to play with character arcs. So everyone explain to me what your character arc is. And at the end of every session of The Strange, we're going to check back in to see whether you've made progress on your character arc. And you could just do that right now and not worry about the mechanics of it necessarily. And I think in both cases, it'll improve your games.
See, I love stuff like that. I have, I have ever since the first time I heard about any kind of communal setting building thing as part of a campaign, which was back in the days of Spirit of the Century, that Fate game, when you get to say, this is the title of my pulp novel, and you were a guest in my pulp novel, tell us what you did, and that kind of thing, where you would build things, and then they carried that onto Dresden Files, where you also created threats, and you built your city and everything. So I love how much that has evolved just in general in RPGs, and I love to see this as a thing in Invisible Sun and getting moved over to the Cipher system, because I think it's just opening up so much.
And that's the really cool thing about the RPG market right now, that you've got so much out there that's sort of evolving. I'm going to take this idea, I'm going to twist it a little bit, somebody else is going to take that. And you can sort of now see like the genesis of like, okay, this is where things started and now this is what it's matured into. And it's really cool. And it doesn't make that one's better than another. It just, it's different. It's there to serve their game versus another one. And yes, of course you can, steal and pick and choose and what have you. I've seen a lot of games where they're like, yeah, we're going to throw out we're going to add motivations or arcs into, hey, what does your character want to get out of this session kind of thing, so that, they can get milestones along the way. So I think that's pretty cool. It's definitely very good for systems that are not like that is not a, hey, you got EXP, you leveled up, and now you get a bunch of more hit points and 4 other skills. It's more where it's like, hey, your character is evolving and developing as a, and learning from their experiences and changing because of their experiences, rather than a stat boost. So.
Yeah, it's very cool. I mean, that kind of thing is baked, not to tangent too much, but that's baked into one of the games I'm playing right now. I'm playing. I play in an Urban Shadows campaign on Tuesday nights on Off the Table, and that's it's a powered by the Apocalypse game. And
oh boy!
Yeah, they have this thing at the beginning of a session. You can do this move where it's it's not a move so much, but it's where you just go around and ask everybody. The MC goes around and asks everybody, okay, what is a rumor you've heard about this other faction? And it becomes the truth. Or at least it's the truth that there's that rumor floating around, an existing rumor. And, so you build all these things with connections, and the way that even that system in and of itself is, at the end of each session, you sort of figure out, okay, it's all about faction politics, basically, and that's where a good portion of the stats are allocated. So it is a thing at the end. It's like, did your relationship change with one or more of the factions? So one of them goes up and the other goes down. And it just all reinforces the story that's going on and adds on to it pretty much, at the beginning of each session, at the end of each session, during each session as the RP is going. So it is an awesome thing, I think.
That's also tech you can steal. I think that if you're building a Numenera 2 campaign around community building and building tomorrow, it'd be a great idea to take some of the core of that mechanic from a Powered by the Apocalypse game and various other games that's similar, and define factions. And then based upon the activities in any given session, or maybe it's every few sessions, however you want to time it, you kind of reassess, well, what is your group or your individual's relationship with these factions? And have they changed over time? And you could actually build that into part of that self-assessment at the end of a session. It helps give a sense that some things have changed, the world is dynamic, and that the players are a part of creating that world, which is useful to provide a sense of efficacy.
Yeah, it's really neat. It's really neat. I'm really glad that this kind of thing is getting around. It is a trend in RPGs that I'm really enjoying.
I mean, I've played through the community building part of Invisible Sun a couple times, and it was a blast. So I really like that idea of. I think they've done a real good job with it. So
I'm really looking forward to that whenever I can finally manage to get my campaign started. One day. One other thing, though, I wanted to just touch on, because there's been a lot of it lately, more than I thought there was going to be, is just sort of, not exactly, I guess we wouldn't necessarily call it off-brand usage, but it's ways of playing Invisible Sun that I guess at least I had not fully anticipated would be a thing. And that is that, for one thing, there are a number of streaming games now.
Oh, yeah.
Of Invisible Sun. And Scott, you were recently for a while in was it The Truth Bleeds at Midnight, was it?
I think it's Twilight.
Twilight Midnight. I get that flipped in my head too often. But yeah,
you're not the first person, including some who were on the stream. And then again, I may have it wrong, so who knows?
It's the truth bleeds somewhere or other. It's we don't know at some point, but yeah. So how did that work for when you were on that? Because I know there are so many props. So how did they do that?
Luckily, I had the experience of playtesting Invisible Sun and had done so exclusively through Roll20. So I was used to playing this game online. It is a different experience than playing in person with all of the props and all of the little wooden pieces and counters and all of that. But it is a game that can be played online. And so while it was designed to be played in person with all of the stuff, it has proven to be popular because I think of thematic reasons with streaming audiences and the provider side of the streaming community as well.
Something that's really cool that has been happening lately is an effort by a streamer by the name of Grant Ellis, who is running right now 3 consecutive Invisible Sun games, 3 different games that are all in the same world. It's going to be 4 very shortly. He's going to run a 4th game on another channel. He's running it on 3 different channels, and it's something that I think when the last time we talked majorly about Invisible Sun on this podcast, one of the things I was looking forward to finding out was just how broad it can get, how big a game you could have. And right now, he's got somewhere in the neighborhood of a total of 15 players between all the different games, and it's interesting because the way that it goes, especially with your ability to go into development mode and to do sessions outside of the sessions, the game never really ends, and you can have players, and he has had players going back and forth between the different games. And the different characters know each other and are getting involved in each other's plots. And it's really awesome to see. And I cannot wait to see where it goes.
Well, back to the other point that that Scott was making, I think this game, Invisible Sun, is very good for an audience to watch. It's very interesting to see what people come up with. But then you can also have a lot of audience participation just because they're going to be talking about what's going on and throwing out ideas and stuff like that. So I think, it's a game that the audience sort of can feed on and it can also sort of influence. So I think that's pretty, it's very, interesting. It's a type of setting that just really can do that. That some settings don't lend themselves to as much. So I think that has a lot of aspects to it. So
there's a lot about it that captures the imagination. So I think it's good for this medium. Everything about it that the storytelling aspect, the group building aspect. I think that it's working very well. It's much better than I ever thought it could. And so it's really awesome to see it happen. And I am very pleasantly surprised by the whole thing. And I cannot wait to see where it goes. I'm just pleased as punch about it. And we even have someone as a topper on this, we even have someone in the chat who just said that they're going to be doing 2 separate tables in different cities, and all the players are going to have the options to be in both games. So it's just I think that we have not seen. I don't think we've gotten anywhere near the bottom of the barrel with this yet, shall we say? The bottom of the barrel is still way off, miles off, and I am really interested to see what happens as we sort of plumb the depths of that.
I think I prefer peak actuality.
Yes. Soon we shall reach peak actuality. I am enjoying that phrase. That
might not be for a while. I mean, because a lot of people might not be getting their cubes until July of next year. So, anybody backing the additional Kickstarter. So
that is fair. Well, as we're getting close to the hour here, I just wanted to check and see, is there anything else that we wanted to express regarding Invisible Sun or the Kickstarter that's going on? All right. We good? Okay. Cool. That being the case, then, did anyone have any things of interest they wanted to talk about? I tried to think of something. I don't actually have anything this time. But did anyone have anything they wanted to give a shout out to, just randomly?
For those writers out there, it's the 1st of November for us. If you're listening live, so that means the start of NaNoWriMo. Oh
yes. I thought about jumping in. I actually do have a novella to write. But
I'm thinking about jumping in as well. For the CypherCaster a bit ago, I wrote a strange short story, and I still have those characters kind of written up. And I'm like, you know what? I should probably revisit these characters and sort of just start writing and see what happens. So I'm really thinking about doing that, sort of posting that to my website as I do it. But I'm still not quite committed. I had this going on tonight, so I haven't been able to get anywhere to the page yet. Other than I tweaked some of the character story stuff or the character write-ups last night while I was waiting on trick-or-treaters. So
that's a good time to do it.
Yeah. Well, that's what the first time I did NaNoWriMo, I remember doing that. Like, it's a Halloween thing for me. It's like, all right, you got to prep for NaNoWriMo now. So I just keep remembering that, because the first time I did it was, right after we moved into our new house and, getting trick-or-treaters and stuff like that. So with a laptop and Scrivenger.
That's a great transition into my first thing of interest, which is that CypherCast, the CypherCaster magazine, is still taking submissions. So if you're interested in submitting for the magazine, you can send an email to submissions@cyphercast.net. And we will be happy to talk to you about such submissions, whether they are written during NaNoWriMo or not. I actually did use NaNoWriMo a couple of years ago as an excuse to write up a bunch of material that may eventually see the light of day. It's all gaming related, but it may not. So who knows? And just since I'm still recovering from Halloween, I'll say that an example of what I'm maybe writing up for the CypherCaster in the near future is something related to my current home game for the Cipher system, which is the Monsters of MASH, which is the characters are all universal horror archetypes, like the Boris Karloff Frankenstein, the Bride of Frankenstein, the Invisible Man, that sort of stuff. And those are the agents, and they are having to take out threats related to basically all color horror movies. And so every scenario is based upon a different, more recent horror movie. We've done Evil Dead, Reanimator, and I don't think any of my players are listening, so I can say the next one is actually based on the Italian movie Demons. So just a variety of different new style horror horror threats being taken out by our agency of old school threats with the kind of a Halloween theme. So I may write that up. That's we're looking for all sorts of things that might be fun for people to see using Cipher system for the CypherCaster. So if you have submissions, that's again submissions@cyphercast.net.
Awesome. Yeah, definitely. Folks should totally send submissions in for that, because it's I really want to see more issues.
Yeah.
We're at a stage where we're basically publishing when we have enough stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So it's no longer on the regular schedule it once was, because the pipeline slowed down a little bit, and we want to make sure that we keep the quality up. But we're happy with what we do, and we're keeping everything moving forward. And so expect to see more. But we're always looking for new people and new voices to represent, especially people who represent new voices in the forms of different communities that have been historically excluded from the conversation, or at least kind of marginalized in RPG conversations. We'd love to hear from you and provide you with an outlet for your work.
Absolutely. Very cool. Very cool. Well, it is about time to start wrapping things up. As a reminder, if you'd like a chance to win a gift certificate to the MCG store, send your description of 250 words or less of a Ninth World community to ccn2community@gmail.com.
That is CC the letter N 2 @gmail.com.
Yeah, CC the letter N, the number 2, community @gmail.com.
Just want to make people think it was into.
Yeah, that's true. So. Yeah, that's what I thought the first time. That's what I was writing down into, and then I changed it. So yeah, was it Charlie November 2 community @gmail.com. You have until November 25th to send in your entry, and we'll announce the winners live on the next episode of the show. So get those into us. Scott, thank you so much for joining us. It is awesome to have you back on. And anything else you want to mention you've got coming up? And tell us where can folks find you?
Thank you for having me. It's always fun to join you. You can find me on Twitter @AgonSeer. That's @AGONSEER. And of course, you can hear me every week. We release podcast episodes on Fridays of Incantations, an Invisible Sun podcast that I co-host with Dave Hanlon. So you can find me there every week. I believe we've got incantationspodcast.com now, but I'm not really sure what that URL is. But if not, you can always ask me on Twitter and I can look it up.
Always fair, always fair. Very cool, man. And Andrew.
I'm Andrew Cady. You can find me at my20sidedlife.com or at my20sidedlife and on Twitter. Hopefully I'll be posting some more stuff on my website real soon. Maybe some fiction with NaNoWriMo. So find out.
Excellent.
Come see. Maybe strange-related stuff.
Awesome. And as for me, I'm Jim Ryan. If you're watching this live, this is my channel. On Friday afternoons and Saturday mornings, I stream video games. Tomorrow I'm going to be starting a new playthrough of Torment Tides of Numenera. So if you've been, finally, got to play a little bit, but then time sort of washed me away, so I'm finally getting back to it. So if you
bring water because you'll do a lot of reading.
Noted.
No, it's good.
Write that down. I shall need plenty to drink.
Yeah.
So if you've been curious about that game, I'm going to be playing it on Fridays for the next several weeks, months, however long it takes. Apparently there's a lot of reading, so it may be a while. Saturday morning, I'm going to be continuing with We Happy Few. Then this Saturday afternoon, we will resume our tabletop campaign of The Cold Ruins of Last Life. That's a setting for Dungeon World, where we all play undead characters exploring the ruins of a fallen society, hoping to preserve the past or build a better future. So very much looking forward to that. And then on Sunday, I'll be starting my run of the November one-shots with Durance, a game by Jason Morningstar, the same guy who wrote Fiasco. That is a storytelling game about the balance of power between the convicts and the authority on a distant prison planet. And like I mentioned earlier, this Sunday's game is going to be part of Monty Cook Games' Extra Life campaign this weekend. Danny will be there, and MCG's own Darcy Ross will be there, so tune in to watch us do terrible, terrible things in space. You can also see me Tuesday nights on Off the Table playing in their campaign of Urban Shadows, like I said earlier. I'm playing a mortal ex-army doctor who treats supernatural creatures. He's under a lot of pressure right now, and I think he's just about to reach his breaking point, so things are about to get really interesting. I'm going to be running games at Mace this month, as I think I hinted at earlier. Mace here in Charlotte, North Carolina. And so that's in that's like a week and a half away. That's the weekend of the 9th through the 11th. And one of the games is going to be a Cipher system game. I'm going to be running the setting that one of the settings that I developed a while back, and one that I've been running in Cipher System before. Actually, Andrew, you've played in it once.
Oh yeah.
It's sort of a Da Vinci Punk type world, and so we shall be doing that. And be running a couple of other games, including also Rosette Diceless game which was the one that we had on my channel last week. The last one shot was in that system. But that aside, if you want to find me online, my handle on both Twitch and Twitter is OtherDoc. That's OTHERDOC. And as always, you can find my General Geek Rambling podcast and links to my various writing and audio projects and a schedule and sign-up links for the upcoming one-shots I am running at JimYesThatJim.com. Congratulations! You have reached the end of yet another episode. You can email us at info@CypherCast.net. You can follow us on Twitter at CypherCastNet. We're on Twitch on the first Thursday of each month at twitchtv.com/otherdoc, where you can also find VODs of previous shows. The podcast is available on the CypherCast Network blog at cyphercast.net, as well as on iTunes and Google Play. We hope you all have a pleasant journey back to the actuality. But in the meantime, take care, fellow gamers, and we'll catch you next time on the CypherCast. Farewell!
Woohoo!